Jenkins, three, right wing to win it. He made it. He made the three from the right wing.
The long desperation by Dagger. Oh, five! Fired!
Welcome to a very special end-of-the-week edition of Rise and Fire Hoops Talk. Clint Switzer Noah Gronniger. We've got a big show for you. It's loaded. We've got ESPN Seth Greenberg coming on, talking about all things college basketball. It's good to be here. It's the winter months. You slam the doors. It's cold outside. It's hot in the gyms. Things are heating up, man, this season in college basketball for sure, and we're going to talk about that with Seth.
Yes, we are. We've got Gonzaga getting a big win against St. Mary's. They've done it. They played them once. They got to play them again at St. Mary's next time. That'll be a big game. We've got Kentucky. Things going on with Duke. They're not playing well with Coach K gone. Some of those freshmen, Tatum's playing well. The other freshmen aren't. So we got some big things coming up.
Yeah, we're going to be talking with Coach Greenberg about all that and much more. We're going to talk about the pending open head coaching job at the University of Missouri.
Yeah.
Because Missouri is sitting at 5-12 right now. Very likely they will be in need of a new coach. So we're going to ask him about just where Missouri is with regards to where they're at as a program as far as luring a head coach that can come in here and turn this around. Maybe some names. We'll
St. Mary's Randy Bennett has been mentioned.
Gonzaga I like that
talked
name.
about that. So yeah, that's
I like
one.
that name. We're going to ask him about your Gonzaga Bulldogs and if he thinks that this might be the team that can finally get Gonzaga to a Final Four.
They've been saying it for years and years, and we keep falling short. Maybe this is the team that can do it. We'll ask him about that.
It's a great program out there on the West Coast. They're going to dominate the West Coast Conference again. But, see if this is different. Is this a team that can get there? We're going to be asking about that. We're going to ask about the Kansas Jayhawks, a team that's another team with a little bit of a local flair, a team that's not maybe as good this year as they have been in years past defensively. And going to ask Coach Greenberg about that.
Yeah, they can score, they can put up the points, but they have to get settled on the defensive end because then when they come up against the big dogs, you got to play defense. You're going to get run out of the gym, even if you do get all the calls.
Well, I'll tell you what, without further ado, we're going to go ahead and bring in our very special guest. He is ESPN's Seth Greenberg. Seth, welcome to the Rise and Fire Hoop Show. How's everything going, my man?
Any better? I couldn't stand it.
Well, that's good to hear. That's good to hear. That's not so much the case for us here in Missouri, Seth. And a team that I bet you haven't been asked about a lot this year is a team that we talked about the last time you were on our show 3 years ago when Missouri hired Kim Anderson. Let's start with that because obviously this thing's off the rails. This is not going well. Very likely Kim Anderson won't be the coach at Missouri next year. But my question to you is, how good of a job is the Missouri job, and where is Missouri as a program as far as trying to lure, some kind of a coach that can turn this program back around?
Again, you hate to speculate because I don't think that's fair. But look, Missouri has a rich tradition, which Kim Anderson's a part of. They've got facilities. They've got a recruiting base. They're close enough to players, which I think is important. They're in a league that is not overwhelming, like the ACC is right now, where it's so good that it's hard to get to the middle. Although I think that the SEC has made obviously tremendous strides in their coaching hires, and you've got some talented young teams out there, and they're going to continue to get better. Kim Anderson inherited a very tough situation. Anytime you inherit a situation where there's been any type of scandal, it sets you back 2 years. Now, obviously, retention of players has been difficult. Is that because they're just not winning? And, people, you get tired of losing and you say, wait a second, I can go to another place, have a chance to win. Again, I'm not there every single day, but I still think Missouri has a rich enough tradition. I think one thing, the recent past and a lot of the negative publicity in terms of the institution obviously makes it a little bit harder.
Absolutely, and another team here locally, the Kansas Jayhawks, sit at number 2 in the country right now. They're flying through the Big 12 like they always do, but Coach, something kind of seems different about this Kansas team. Maybe not Bill Self's best defensive team. Where do you see the Jayhawks, and would you at all suggest that maybe Bill Self with this team, a team that has guards that can't seem to keep players in front of him, maybe switch to a zone? I know it's hard for coaches to swallow their pride sometimes and do that, but what do you see out of this Kansas team right now?
What do you think? Just because they're going to play zone, they're going to be a better defensive team?
You never know.
They're guarding the zone, too. So then you go zone and you're giving up wide open threes. No, here's the thing. They're playing guys a lot of minutes. Frank Mason's got to play a lot of minutes. Devontae Graham's got to play a lot of minutes. They're also asking those guys to push the ball every single time, attack the basket, make plays. They're such a guard-oriented team. When Graham's playing 33 or 34 minutes a game, Frank's playing 35 minutes a game, you can't burn the candle on both ends. I mean, that's just the way it is. They'll improve defensively. They don't have any rim protection, which hurts them. Landon Lucas has been rebounding the ball at an incredibly high level right now, and he's playing so much better. And Carl's actually giving them a little bit more physicality. But they're undersized. They do a nice job getting in pass lanes at time, but they haven't guarded the ball as well. And they're playing against really good guards in the Big 12 and teams that are spreading the court and driving them. And when the way the new rules are, they are so skewed in favor of the offense right now that they can't afford to take themselves out of games by being too aggressive defensively and get in foul trouble. So I think part of Kansas' issue defensively is that, look, hey, Frank, Devontae, you guys can't get in foul trouble, so you got to be smart defensively. And when you're smart defensively, potentially you can put yourself in a position where, you're maybe not guarding as well as you have in the past.
Now, Seth, for years and years, we've been hearing about the Gonzaga Bulldogs. They're popular Final Four picks each and every year. Of course, with Sabonis and Wilcher in the past, they were popular. But is this a team, they don't have that big star, but they've got the depth, they've got a well-rounded team and balance. Is this the team that can finally get them to the Final Four?
I do. I think they're different. I think that, I'm not saying they're his best team because only he knows that because he's with them every day. But I do think they're different. I think that they have versatility in their lineup. They can play big and bigger. They've got a little chip on their shoulder. They have these transfers that want to prove something, especially Nigel Williams-Goss. They got obviously a great shooter in Jordan Matthews. Karnowski is, I joke, he's a mountain masquerading as a man, but he's a terrific passer, and he's different, and he's unique. But they have other guys like Zach Collins and Tilly, and they have versatility in their front court and how they're going to play in their front court. So they're the top 5 in offense and defensive efficiency, according to Ken Palm. I mean, I think this is a really special team, and I do think the pieces fit, and that's the most important thing.
Well, right now, last question before we let you go, Coach, is the conference you used to coach in, the ACC. I don't know if it's ever been better. Obviously, you had teams like Syracuse, Louisville. You got Notre Dame playing in there. It's as good as it's ever been. But one of the head honchos, the Duke Blue Devils, are having some struggles right now. Obviously, documented case about the situation with Coach K on the shelf. You've had Grayson Allen and his troubles. Maybe Duke isn't the team to beat this year. Who's going to come out of this thing? Because this is a meat grinder, man.
I think North Carolina and Florida State are the 2 best teams. I really do. I think that Florida State has got incredible depth and length, and whether it's Jonathan Isaacs or Xavier Verthon-Mays or Dwayne Bacon, I mean, those guys are really special. And then on the other hand, you've got a North Carolina team that returns a good portion of the team. Joel Berry's playing at an elite level. They had Tony Bradley. Theo Pinson's healthy right now. They've just got they play fast, which is an advantage. Justin Jackson's playing at an incredibly high level. So I think those 2 are the best teams in the ACC right now. Well,
it's going to be interesting. This is the best time of year. Conference season is heated up. We're going to get some separation here as the months go on. Coach Seth Greenberg from ESPN, thank you so much for joining us. Take her easy, and we'll do her again soon, my man.
You got it, man. Thank you very much for having me.
Thanks a lot. Always. Thank you. Thanks a lot to Seth Greenberg for joining us here. As it's been a couple years since we talked to Coach. Great to have him on. One of the best analysts in the game, man, for ESPN.
Yeah, it's
Great
a huge honor
to
have him on, get his insight. Coach at Virginia Tech, now an ESPN analyst. He's always bringing it. He likes UCLA, we heard, so he thinks they're the top dog. With Alonzo Ball, it's hard to question that.
Interesting, his picks. He likes North Carolina and Florida State, kind of giving both of them the nod in the ACC in one of the toughest conferences in basketball this year, the ACC.
Florida State's impressive.
They
I
are.
didn't really think much about them, but they're coming out here and they're beating the big dogs and they're showing that they belong, and maybe this is something that they can sustain, and we'll see how they do in the NCAA tournament.
As North Carolina teams do under Roy Williams, definitely kind of just seems to get a little better each game. And they're going to be a team to beat in the ACC. Duke sort of heading on a downward spiral. We talked to him about that.
They can get those freshmen right, all of them. Tatum's playing out of his mind, amazing, but he's got to get the other two right. And if he can, and when Coach K comes back, they could be the team to beat come March Madness.
Well, where is the leadership? Because with Coach K on the shelf, with back surgery, with Grayson Allen going through his troubles, every game we're talking about, is this another incident? Did Grayson Allen try to trip this guy or push this coach or spit in this guy's face or knock this fan out? I mean, you're having to analyze every little thing the guy does, and people trying to justify some of his behaviors. I just think that this is not what Duke needs right now when they need a leader, when Jeff Capel's trying to hold this together and keep Duke in contention for an ACC title.
Yeah, they've got a couple months. They have to find themselves, and that's going to be the big key. But if they can somehow find themselves, get Coach K back and find them somebody to be a leader, whether it's a Grayson Allen that can hone that energy and that focus and finally get focused and be that leader for that team that they so desperately need on the court.
He does think that Missouri, with its rich tradition and great facilities, can lure a coach in here. Of course, he doesn't want to be too speculative. I mean, I think that I disagree with Seth about that. I think that you absolutely can be speculative now.
Well, he's a former coach at Virginia Tech.
True.
He said, well, that guy's still in that seat. It's kind of just disrespectful, even though it is Tim Anderson. He's brought this on himself with his poor coaching performance and poor teams. But being a former coach as Seth Greenberg was, he understands that, and he's not going to play that game right now.
He kind of scoffed at my question when I asked if Kansas should be a team that's maybe thinks about switching to a zone. Bill Self's never done it. Always played really high pressure man-to-man defense. Yeah. But this team we talked about, maybe not the best defensive team. But as we look at the Big 12, there's other good teams in this league: West Virginia, Baylor,
Press Virginia.
Press Virginia lost at home to Oklahoma.
Yeah.
These teams they play themselves out of a conference championship before they can even get to Kansas and even try to knock Kansas off. Is Baylor or is anyone else going to be able to do this? We ask this every year, but is it going to be number 13 in Lawrence? I mean, that's the question. It's pretty obvious.
13 in Lawrence here. I don't see it happening. They do get the calls that home field advantage, Allen Fieldhouse, is too much for anyone to overcome, the refs to overcome and try and call an equal game, and Kansas is just going to run away with it again.
A conference that I think is interesting is before we let you go here on the Rise and Fire Hoops talk show here on the Great American Sports Network. GASN Sports.
Yes.
GASNsports.com.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Absolutely. Our website, GASNsports.com, and at GASN Sports. Send us a tweet. Let us know your thoughts on kind of what we're doing on our show.
Subscribe on YouTube. Click that subscribe button. You got to do it. You know you want to.
And if you're listening on iTunes, we appreciate that as well, man. It's free. Download it. Subscribe on iTunes as well. And before we end that, there's a conference I kind of want to give a little bit of a run to because I think the SEC is coming along just a bit. Now, it's not going to be, you're not going to mistake the SEC this year for an ACC or a Big 12, even a Big 10. But the SEC's got some teams coming along. I love what Frank Martin's doing at South Carolina. Thornwell's been a star for them. You see them in the rankings. You've got Florida also playing well. They've suffered a loss to Frank Martin's South Carolina.
I hear Kentucky's doing well.
There's rumors that Kentucky's still a pretty good basketball team.
Yeah.
Now, there's some really bad teams at the bottom with Missouri, with LSU, really poor teams. But you know what? I think Ben Howland's Mississippi State Bulldogs are a team that's going to be in contention come tournament time. I think the Georgia Bulldogs are going to get a heck of a look. I think there's some teams in this conference that are playing some pretty good basketball, maybe flying under the radar. Arkansas is another team. I think that all these teams are going to have a chance at making the tournament. Obviously, Kentucky's the cream of the crop, the thoroughbred. That's what Kentucky is, and that's what they always will be.
Yeah, looks like you might have 3 teams in there, and then some bubble teams that could sneak in, and some lower round seeds, and maybe cause some damage because these aren't your regular SEC teams that looks like they could win 1 or 2 games going into the tournament. Some of those 3 or 4, 5, 6 kind of teams that get in.
Well, we are in the heart of conference season. Things are just now heating up here on the Rise and Fire Hoops Talk. And be sure to join us next week. We're going to be talking with none other than former Boston College standout, former NBA player, Chris Herron. You guys,
amazing story if you haven't seen the film on him. Just
if you haven't seen the 30 for 30 Unguarded, it's about Chris Herron's sort of rise, fall, and rise again. Well-documented battle with drugs. It's going to be a heck of an interview because this guy's one of the best public speakers you'll ever see. He's out, spreading the word now about his drug addiction, sharing his story. He played for Boston College. He went out then and played for Jerry Tarkanian at Fresno State, and then got to go to the NBA, played for his hometown Celtics. He's a Boston guy. But then just...
Might have been the worst case scenario for him going back home with familiar friends and family. We'll get into that. Definitely, that is a must-see, must-listen interview next week. Do not miss it.
Absolutely. Thanks for joining us here on Rise and Fire Hoops Talk. Clint Switzer Noah Gronniger out again. Enjoy some hoops action this weekend and beyond, man.